Hi, I'm Lizzie and welcome to my garden here at the Rose Press. Today is all about pricking out seedlings. Now you may be thinking, Lizzie, what does pricking out seedlings even mean? Basically, it is when we've done our seed sowing and things have germinated and we start to see seedlings with second sets of leaves, and I'll go into more detail. We then want to prick these out into their own individual pots, because if we leave them to grow, and this is a bad example, if we leave them to grow and to continue, they will just get overrun. They'll all be competing for the compost, for the nutrients, for the light, for the airflow, and this is when we can see serious problems. So this is a bad example. These should have been pricked out a long time ago. And the reason we prick out is to give them that space, to give them that extra bit, to grow them on, to get their roots nice and strong, so that when we plant them in the ground next year, they are as strong and as wonderful as possible to do a beautiful display. So we prick the seedlings out, and the difficult bit is knowing exactly when to do it, because you don't want to do them when they're too big, because they've got so many roots, and then you're almost like damaging the roots, and then they're too tall and the roots can't then get all the nutrients and everything it needs to keep the leaves alive. But you also don't want to do it when they're too small. For example, some of these ones just here, because they're very small and probably haven't got enough roots, that if you damage a couple of them, they haven't got enough to kind of keep going anyway. So you want to do it at that kind of teenage stage for them, where they've grown a little bit, they've got going, they've got a bit of energy, but they're also not so small that you're going to damage them and completely kill them. It is one of those things that you learn through trial and error as a gardener over the years, so I'm going to try and give you a few tips and tricks that you can. I've put my coat on now because it's definitely autumn weather, which is why we're autumn sowing all these seeds. So yes, when we're pricking out, we want to make sure that they are the right size, and maybe the whole tray might not all be ready at the same size. So you may have some which are very small. So again, this example is a good one. Some very small ones that might not be ready, but then clearly you can see some of these larger ones are definitely ready for their next home. So what you want to do, and I'm going to do an example, I'm going to use the Eryngium as an example, because I think there's some really nice, obvious ones that are ready and some which might need a little bit longer. And I know one of the questions might be, well, Lizzie, why do we even sow them in a tray? Why don't we sow one seed into their own pot right from the start? I don't understand why we would need to prick out if you just put them in their own space. And obviously, if you have a huge greenhouse with loads and loads of space, then you can absolutely do that and have lots of space for them to grow. But really, well, what we want to do is sow a tray. We then want to see which seeds germinate, and then we can kind of pick the best ones, put them into their own pots, and then if there's gaps like this one, for example, we're not wasting space anymore. We're just growing on the seedlings that we want to have, the strongest, healthiest seedlings. And by all means, you can prick all of them out and carry on growing all of them. But this is also the time that if some are looking a bit ropey, let's get rid of them. If you've got plenty to choose from, then that's absolutely fine. So how do we prick out seedlings? Basically, you want to make sure they've got the second set of leaves. Now, actually, these Eryngium are quite hard to see, but what you want to do is somehow get as much of the roots up as possible, and you want to have a little pot. About this size is great, but obviously there's all different sizes. I've got a big range here of different size pots, all about the same size. You want to fill it up most of the way with compost. You can see I've got mine filled up to about there. And then you want to prick out your seedlings. Now, the reason I'm holding this is because you want something just to loosen up the soil and to make sure that you can help get the roots. A pen is a really good one. A spoon is also really good, but I do tend to use the old wooden labels that I've had previously. Now, what you want to do is you want to hold the first leaves, because the second leaves are the ones that are kind of like the true leaves, the ones that you want to carry on growing, and they usually have a funky kind of pattern on, whereas the first seed leaves are just the leaves that come out of the seed to get it going. So if they get damaged, it's okay, but you don't want to damage the really big proper true leaves that are ongoing. So what I'm going to do here, and you can see this, is just loosen up the compost a little bit around these seedlings, and you can almost see when they're about to kind of get up, and you can just about tease, you can see the pressure I'm putting here to help lift the roots up, and you can see the roots on that one there. Some amazing roots hanging down. Actually, I'll hold it up higher. But you can see I'm holding this little seed leaf just here. I'm not pulling it up, or wasn't pulling it up from that leaf, because if that snaps off, then it hasn't got very much leaves to hold on to. Whereas these tiny little leaves, doesn't matter if they get damaged. And you can see actually there's another one hanging off here. So again, if we hold the seed leaf, the first little leaf there, and pull it apart, we've actually got another one that could be put into a pot if you wanted to. So again, I'll pop the little one down. So you can see how long the roots are on here. So we then pop it into, and again, you can make a little hole into the pot if you want to with your finger, pop the roots in the middle, hold it in place, and then you just want to fill up with compost around the edge. So holding it in the middle and just making sure that you don't. You probably want to firm it down a little bit. So again, firming it down, want to make sure it's nice and in the center of the pot. Firming it down. So the reason we firm down isn't we don't want to break the roots, but you just want to make sure that all the air pockets are going, because what the last thing you want is this lovely root that's all tucked in its little compost bed here, and then you pull it out and put it somewhere else, and then it dries up because there's a nice big air gap. So we shall do that. Oh, I just tipped that over. That wasn't very good, was it? So let's put that back in, firm it down nice and gently around the edge. We're not kind of crushing it. Give it a good old tap as well. That sometimes helps to settle the soil into the air pockets. And you can see we've got one seedling in there. What we'll then do is label up that seedling, despite the fact that they are quite obvious seedlings to see and they're very similar and very different from other seedlings. What you don't want to do is not put a label on and then not know what it is in a few times. You can of course put like 6 together and only label one, but make sure that you keep them all together so you know. So we'll give this a really good water, and because we've just transplanted it from where it was quite happy and it had a good set source of water, we want to make sure we water our pricked out seedlings really well. The next thing we'll do is put it back in the greenhouse and let it grow on, and then usually you want to make sure until you know what to do to the next stage is you want it to grow, and you'll obviously see the plant getting bigger, but you also might start to see the roots come out of the bottom, and that's a really good indication that it's not long until you need to move it into a slightly bigger pot. I shall carry on doing more of the seedlings and kind of show you some more examples in other videos as well, but I really hope that helps with what to do once your seedlings have germinated and once they've got their second set of leaves, these lovely nice true leaves, then what to do with next to them. Now I'm going to go give these water. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll carry on filming some more videos of different types for you as well.